We continue our focus on the recent developments. Retired Colonel Tony Nyiam joins us now from our studios in Abuja. Morning, and thank you for joining us today on this matter. Well, this, again, that's how some of the papers put it, unfortunate at that, the incident in Nyiam area. I mean, when you even heard that, what comes to your mind? Where is all this headed? And so many questions streaming in. How did this happen again, in spite of the security presence? They could just go on and on. But let's get your thought, first and foremost, on this recent incident.
Yeah, I think it's really it's very sad for our country. But before I go on, I would urge and commend all the medical emergency services who are at the moment busy with rescuing or treating those who have been wounded in the explosion. I commend their efforts, and I must also commend the efforts of the security services and all the other national security agencies who are working very hard. It's a pity that this is happening again. It always is indicative that security, it's not the security, it involves everybody. To the extent that this can happen again means that there's a need for much more local involvement in the security framework.
Well, before we even speak about the local involvement in our security framework, first of all, we do have, let's even examine some of the framework that has been put in place. Are we making the most of it? Take, for instance, there's CCTV cameras there. Do they work? Why are they not working if they do? Because what we were told yesterday by our correspondent was that, well, yes, some of those, we had about 3 people who ran off the vehicle that eventually exploded into the crowd and nobody could even trace them. If we had those cameras in place, we could have seen something, wouldn't we?
You're right. I think there's need for much more use of high tech, but we must realize that our security services are, as it were, overstretched. We are under-policed, in terms of security operatives, we are under strength. This is not a thing of this government. It's been so for long. If you check the UN guides as to protection per capita, we perform very poorly. I think there's a need for, I would say, a threefold expansion of the numbers of men to do with national security. And the emphasis should be much more on non-uniformed personnel. It's not enough to have people in uniform moving about. We need people much more who are undercover. That's the emphasis where we should go for. So some of us think that there should be massive recruitment of people into the non-uniformed agencies. This will have two rules. One, it will make our security responses much more effective and much more, we can then infiltrate the enemy within our ranks. And also, it will serve to give more room to an employment of our youths. I think this is something we need to do. All I'm saying now is that in the immediate response, of course, the approach being used now of rapid response approach are necessary, but we need to extend it to involve the participation of much more undercover agents than we are doing.
All right.
That is in the short term and medium term. In the long term, we cannot run away from the fact that we need to deal with the political undertones of this crisis.
But even before we come to the political undertone of this crisis, well, yes, that notwithstanding, what's wrong with us rising to the occasion? Because before now, there was this information out there that, yes, the government had the names, or they were going to publish the names of those who were funding this terrorism. And then they tell us, well, yes, we know those who are behind it, we will have those names off. And all of those things are not just forthcoming. So is it understandable for you when there's so much frustration in the public domain at the moment about some of these things?
If I take your mind back to you and Mope some months ago, in an interview I had in Lagos with you guys, I did say clearly that, you see, in asymmetric war, which is unconventional war, it's not as predictable as it is. It takes years. I mean, if you go back, I hope I'm not sounding pessimistic, but this is the reality. If you go back to the examples of other countries, it takes a long time to defeat insurgency. I think with the limited, I say the limited strength of manpower we have, our chaps are doing the very best they can do. Let me not tell you. What I can assure you is that there are a lot of successes the security agencies have been making quietly. But what we see true, of course, is when we have a case like this, when there is a spectacular, but there are a lot of arrests and attack and responses that have been very effective by the agents. But the agents and the members of the national security agencies are stretched. I think it's a high time that we expand them both in terms of numbers and in terms of the technical know-how and training.
When you say expand in terms of numbers and technical know-how, let's look at the numbers. Massive recruitment, I mean, that's what the security agencies are preparing to go into now. What's the guarantee that the people that will be recruited are not going to be a part of, are not members of the Boko Haram sect? Because there have been times when they said we could not come in there because they are not like identified, so to speak. So what's the guarantee that they will not be recruited into the security agencies?
I agree, and this is why the process must be such that first is corruption free, is nepotism free, and favoritism free, and it must involve. You see, we must learn to involve locals, our people, in what we do. The idea of someone or an establishment standing somewhere and dishing things out without involving the people is a problem. So in any recruitment exercises, people should be from each ward or constituency should have their representations identifying the characters that will be recruited into the system.
Okay, let's look at the issue of the people here. It's just barely 2 weeks the last explosion occurred around the Nyiam area, and this is happening. Why do you think it happened so close to call? Is there nothing to deter them? The same spot, a few meters away, about 500 meters away from a police check or security checkpoint. Is there any pattern here being established or something?
First of all, the pattern I can see is that they're going for soft targets. By soft targets, I mean areas that which unfortunately the attacks is on the poor, which is ironic, because I would have thought that people who are fighting for self-determination or whatever would have been hitting less, the attack should be less on the poor people. So to the extent that they're attacking the poor people, in a way is indicative that they are desperate and that's why they're looking for soft targets. Having said so, I think we the people must realize that security is everybody's matter. There is nobody who has the monopoly or the preserve of security. And again, it's all teaching us the lesson that for so far, all our national security idea has been very much what I would call exclusive security of those in government of the day. We have been more focused on protecting our leaders rather than putting in practice what the Constitution says, security and the welfare of the people. Two angles to this. One is security, secondly is the welfare of the people. We must begin to deal with the roots of aggravations, of disgruntlement that has been expressed violently. We must stop playing lip service to the fact that you can live affluently in one corner of Nigeria or any city and think that you can ignore the poor. We, the middle class, must realize that we owe it a responsibility to our security to ensure that we are governing well, we are providing a governance to the poor. It's unfortunate that it is the same poor who are being got by these people who I think are cowards, because otherwise, why would they be inflicting their attacks on the poor?